We live, baby.
Welcome to Ballers and Breeze, October 7th, week 5, Outlook, Fantasy Showdown, Extraordinaires. What's up, guys?
What up, fellas? What up?
Everybody.
Started off with straight into the action, Houston versus Atlanta. Cody's Texans versus the Dirty Birds.
Yeah, so I think I'm looking at the injury report right now. I feel like the defense is still going to show out tomorrow. I think they are. I feel like Desmond Ridder is probably the worst quarterback in the league right now. I mean, anybody else got thoughts on that?
I like the Houston defense call. I think Ridder. I don't know how they did what they did to Carolina in week 1. It's like mind-boggling. They did that, especially when I bet on Carolina. Maybe that's what it was. I bet on Carolina, so they screwed my money up because it's Carolina and they know how much I hate them. But ever since then, Atlanta is just trash. And
sometimes those divisional opponents, you have a little bit more film, even though they had a new quarterback there. Sometimes you have a little bit more film, so then you can kind of scheme them up a little bit better. Most of the players you're seeing twice a year, so sometimes you might get lucky with that Carolina-Atlanta matchup. But I think for the Houston-Atlanta matchup, I still like Bijan, even though the offense isn't able to really move the ball too productively. We've seen even against the Jaguars defense last week, just due to the fact that it doesn't seem like Desmond Ridder can kind of get the ball further down the field or even hit those sort of intermediate routes. But I think eventually they will have a okay game passing the ball. But again, I believe that Bijan still is a strong start. Of course, you're going to start him regardless, but I think that's a strong play still. Maybe a sneaky pick. Keep waiting on Kyle Pitts. I keep waiting on Kyle Pitts to kind of have that game that we kind of think he can have based off of his attributes and skill. And I think eventually it's going to come. We'll see maybe if it's tomorrow.
Yeah, Houston's about average against stopping the run. So
what's the over/under for this game?
That's low. I think it's like 42. Yeah, 42.
Okay.
I could see it easily another close to 300 yards.
Do you see a Stroud, maybe a Stroud Nico Collins type of stat game? That would be pretty productive.
Maybe Tank Dell.
You think it's Dell's week this week?
Yeah, I think they'd be slippy swapping. I think it's a better matchup for him as well. I'm not going to this game on DFS purposes, but I don't see why you couldn't. If you wanted to get, I like Houston's play as a defense in this game for DFS purposes. And if you're trying to punt somewhere, Tank Dell's probably low owned. And he's probably cheap, and he's always a good option. I think he has a better matchup here than Collins.
It's Collins. Collins showed out. He showed his ass the last 2 weeks, and Tank Dell's kind of slowly dipped in play. But I know for DFS, not for DFS, but season long purposes, you have to play Nico Collins tomorrow. Hell, I even saw some people were saying if you have them both and you have a CJ Stroud and you have Tank Dell and Nico Collins, that's a stack you have to get in. You have to stack them. I think that in for season long fantasy that Tank Dell is a great flex play and Nico Collins has shown himself as a good solid wide receiver too. I've got to run him tomorrow specifically was going to run him as a flex, but I'm going to run him as wide receiver too tomorrow for sure because of the possibility of no Amon-Ra. So he's definitely in my book a wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 2, low end wide receiver 1. But for DFS, I feel like probably this game's going to be probably over-owned than what we think it is because of what they've done recently.
I mean,
What about Damian Pierce or for just season long and both from a daily fantasy as well? But I mean, I know Cody, you get a chance to see it more watching the game from a fan perspective. Do you see any sort of prospect?
I'm running them out tomorrow too. I'm running Dame. I'm running Dame out tomorrow. Okay. One for in place of Javonte Williams in our 10-man, and then running him out in place of in our 12-man league. I'm running him out tomorrow too. For
Atlanta's pretty good against the pass. They're not so good against the run. So Dame Pierce is not a bad.
Yeah, I mean, I got Ford on a bye, so yeah, I got to run Pierce out there, but they're like 20-something against the run.
Yeah, they're not that great. They're allowing. I just had it up somewhere. Atlanta's allowing, almost 13 yards more than average against them on the run. But they seem to be really good against the pass from, a data take. So,
I mean, ETN had like 20 attempts for 55 yards on the ground last week in that game. I think it would have been more had the defense not been eating up Atlanta. So
looking at those numbers makes me not like Nico and Tank Dell even more. So, like I said, I'm not going there. I think I'm definitely going to have some Houston defense, though. Maybe some Dame Pierce now that I'm looking at some of these numbers. We'll see. The game's just low total, and low total score me for DFS purposes.
We're probably going to get Titus Howard back tomorrow at the tackle spot. Shaq Mason is full practice on Friday. The defense, I mean, Denzel Perryman, Steven Nelson, Tavir Thomas, all practice. Jimmy Ward still didn't practice, but he doesn't say that he's questionable. The only question was going in tomorrow is Laremy Tunsil, John Mechie III, and then you have Shaq Griffin, and then Malik Collins. So, I mean, those are some good names, some household names across the defense, but I still don't think that Atlanta – if anything, it's going to be at the Bijan show tomorrow, I think, if that's
what I'm thinking as well.
Against the defense, because that's the way the gash that you got to run up the middle, and especially if you know Malik Collins tomorrow, possible. So I think that could be it.
I mean, y'all are above average on stopping the run. I wouldn't. Bijan's expensive for DFS purposes. Season long, he'll probably get you there, but DFS purposes, I wouldn't go there.
I mean, yeah, he's going to be higher than what he's. I don't think he's valued. I don't think he's value proving tomorrow for sure.
Correct. Anything else from that game?
Yeah,
move into
anybody in Atlanta. I mean,
yeah.
Unless you got Bijan, you got to start Bijan. But I wouldn't. I mean,
I know that Tampa Bay's out, so that leaves some receivers that you probably would have played that you can't this week. So maybe then in that instance you might look at a Drake London. Maybe I think he got into the end zone against the Jaguars once, maybe twice. So he's definitely a red zone target if they can find a way to get the ball there. So I guess from a fantasy perspective, season long, if you have to kind of roll out a receiver because you're short this week, that may be a potential option to go to.
That's a solid take right there, because I think he's primed. So we'll see.
Move into Carolina, Detroit. Any injuries to note on this game, Cody?
Yes, let me pull it up. All right, schedule a little off today. So for the Panthers, no starting guard Austin Corbett. He's out. Dante Jackson, the corner, their number one corner or number two corner, I guess, is questionable with a shoulder. Miles Sanders was a full go in practice on Friday. And Xavier Woods, the safety for the Panthers, is out with a hammy, and then Detroit is beat up. Brian Branch, rookie corner. We've seen him blowing the party up all year so far.
He's playing really well.
He's out with an ankle. There's a guy that was there on last week and came out, was doing good, got hurt. They took him to the sideline, or took him to the locker room, gave him that good shot, came back out, wrapped his ankle, put him back out there on the field, and he played for probably 2 or 3 series, and then he goes down again. So but he's out. Taylor Decker, the tackle, is questionable. Oh, Jahmyr Gibbs, questionable with a hammy tomorrow. So pay attention to that if you have him in season long for sure.
Who's the other running back?
For Detroit?
Monty, that's it. So, yeah, Monty's who I like a lot tomorrow. Carolina is vulnerable to the run. And Monty last week got 74% of the rush, but I guess that's because Gibbs was dealing with that hammy. And if he's still dealing with the hammy, they're not going to force him in when they have somebody like Monty. So
yes,
I expect Monty to continue to eat.
The biggest, most important injury for tomorrow is Amon-Ra St. Brown. It is doubtful. He is fully doubtful. More than likely, he's going to be out with the abdomen. And then your number 2, Josh Reynolds, is questionable with the groin. He's been playing with the groin for the last couple weeks, but it's possible he's not out there. They could get Jameson Williams back tomorrow. He's eligible to come off of his suspension. So I'm looking at you, Brad. Pay attention. Looking at you because I know you picked him. I know you got him.
Oh, yeah, I've been watching that. That's been a little, you tuck him away. I drafted him in my, I think it was my 10-man league, with the hopes of kind of stashing him away because I really like that big play potential. That speed is undeniable. And they really like to get him on those deep routes and really kind of have him be that sort of take the top off the defense type receiver. So I'm really wanting to see but I'm waiting to see, kind of see what he's going to do before I can really sort of play him from a fantasy perspective. But he's definitely one of those players that I definitely kind of banked on it to have as a kind of flex option play weekend.
I mean, if they got no Josh Reynolds and no Amon-Ra tomorrow, I mean
Khalif Raymond.
He's technically questionable. I mean, Khalif Raymond's probably Marvin Jones are number 1 and number 2 tomorrow.
From the other side, I actually like
Laporta.
Adam Thielen is again for Carolina. The production has just been there the last 3 games.
Yeah, you called that last week.
Targets in the last 3 games he's had in his revenge game, I call it, against Minnesota. He had 7 receptions there. The targets are continuing to come from him. So that's definitely something from a fantasy perspective, maybe even a daily fantasy perspective. How much money do you guys show the amount of money that he's going for? Because I think maybe from a sneaky fantasy perspective, he might be one of those guys that might end up going off. Because I could see, even though the receivers are out for Detroit, I could still see them getting up fairly quickly against Carolina.
Thielen's 5,100.
Okay.
He's cheap. Okay. He's only projected to be owned about 9%. It's a good play. You can attack them through the air too, so you can't really attack Detroit through the ground. They have been hands-on. They're probably one of the best rushing defenses right now. Miles Sanders is a no-go for me on DFS, but you're spot on with Thielen again. He might be a good play here in this game.
I like that too.
Yeah, I really like that.
I think Thielen has showed that he's a pure number 1.
They're probably going to be behind. The Carolina's probably going to be behind, which opens up more opportunities for more targets for Thielen, which is what you want to see. And so just given, again, that game flow potential, again, that opens up more opportunities for him to score. So watch out for Thielen tomorrow.
I think he's just security blanket material, for young.
Definitely security. And if Young so happens to get hurt again, well, we've seen what happens with Dalton and his connection with Thielen. So again, either or, you feel really comfortable with either quarterback going into each week.
I'll make it noted too that Terrence Marshall got 32% of the targets last week. I didn't know that till just now. It's kind of fucking wild. He had more targets than Thielen, and all I saw was Thielen catching the ball. So I wonder how well Marshall actually did.
As well.
Yeah, and he's only 3,600. So the only way to attack Detroit through the air, Bryce Young is going to have to throw it. Like you said, they're probably going to be playing from behind. And with that said,
9 receptions for 56 yards.
Yeah, he had 10 targets. Marshall did?
Yes. 9 receptions. Yeah.
That's a fucking $3,600 player right there, dude.
He was $3,500 last week, so yeah.
But I think Mingo was out last week, and that might be why that happened. Is Mingo out again this week?
He is not. He is not.
So Mingo's in. That's gonna probably push Marshall back down to where he was. I don't know. I don't know if him and Mingo were too far apart to begin with, but they might have found something they like in Marshall, targeting him 10 times. I'm going to go ahead and make a note of him as well for DFS plays. If you're trying to get different, trying to have that cheap player, Terrence Marshall might be it. If he's getting 10 targets, DraftKings is PPR.
I mean, he's
0.1% owned.
He's fourth on the depth chart, or behind Mingo on the depth chart. So there's your if Mingo's rookie, so, or second year, whatever he is, but actually he's a rookie.
But even what I'm seeing is that even on the season, the whole season, Terrence Marshall hasn't beat. 16% target share on the season. Mingo's only got 12. Granted, he missed a game, but if he played that game, I don't know. It's hard to tell. Maybe they'd be 16-16. It's still not bad for a 3,600 player.
I mean, on a season, he's 16 receptions for 114 yards.
Not
on
bad.
24 targets. 24 targets, man. I mean, that's
24 points. It's 24 points right there on a $30,000.
He's definitely actually hit his actual value percentage last week. If you're doing 20% on what it costs, so 3,500 and you hit 14.6 points. There's your.
I'll say I like him or Mingo tomorrow. To be honest, as a cheap punt play, might be Mingo's week tomorrow.
Mingo's good though. I like him a lot.
What was his injury?
What was the money amount for Mingo again?
33. He's actually cheaper than Marshall.
Okay.
He's 3,300 and Marshall's 3,600.
He was concussed. Mingo was concussed.
Oh, so that's not an injury to me. I've already talked about that. So Mingo's good to go. All right. Anything else in that game? Going to Tennessee and the Colts.
Well, Jared Goff, and if you waiver wire, you got to stream. Jared Goff is a streaming quarterback. I mean, if you're in somebody's like my position where you have Trevor Lawrence and he's going against Buffalo tomorrow, that ain't it, bro.
You don't like it?
No.
You're not feeling Lawrence?
I got thoughts on that. And we'll get to that. We get there. Well, that game we'll have to circle around because that's at 9 o'clock in the morning. But I am fading, full fade, Trevor Lawrence tomorrow.
Oh, we agree with Phil. That's a full fade on the season for Phil.
A full fade. I am not running him out against Buffalo tomorrow. So, streaming quarterback number 1. I got some more streamers I'm going to tell you about.
Let's go to Tennessee and Colts. I kind of like this game, even though the over-under is only 43. I think that's because Tennessee's got a pretty solid defense, but Anthony Richardson is good.
Is Treylon Burks still? Is Treylon Burks playing?
Out with a knee.
Okay.
He's still out. Derrick Henry, D-Hop were both full goes. Kyle Phillips was a full go.
I mean, I don't really like anybody from the Tennessee side. I mean, I like Richardson because of his DFS value every week. He's just been putting numbers across the board.
There's a receiver. I think it's like Nick Akine Smith.
Nick Westbrook-Akine for Tennessee. Yes. How much is every week? It feels like he gets a sneaky touchdown. It's every time.
I told y'all that last week.
He's cheap, man.
It's weird.
3,500.
He's such a dirt bag.
Weird.
He's a dirt bag.
Man.
Like, I swear, Ryan Tannehill literally looks for him before he looks for anybody else. Or he's like, oh my, or Westbrook Akine knows, like, Ryan Tannehill in a shit moment is gonna find me somewhere.
He's got the same target share as D-Hop last week. Not on the season.
If you're looking for a punt play. It's weird, that guy, because the stats aren't amazing, but he'll get you a touchdown.
What are we going against? Indianapolis? I mean, Indianapolis. Yeah, they can be hit through the pass. What's Tennessee doing with the pass, though? They're doing terrible with the pass. Like, they're just not passing anywhere near average. They're way below it. So something wrong with Tannehill. He needs to get it together. I don't like anybody over there. Not this game. You can get Indy through the pass.
King Henry.
I just nah. I
Well,
don't
Nick
even know.
McKinney has 6 catches for 69
that
yards.
game is going to come eventually. Henry's going to go off eventually.
I mean, he
don't know
could.
when.
It always seems to be against a division opponent, though.
He's going to go off eventually.
I'll add Derrick Henry to my list because you can attack them through the run. I don't like any of the pass catchers just because Tannehill just hasn't been producing pass catchers.
The tight end,
Colton Dowell. Josh White. Josh Weil.
What's the guy? Okinowo, the tight end for Tennessee.
Josh Wiley.
Josh Wiley and Trayvon Westcott.
Oh, Chig.
Is he hurt? Is the other guy hurt? Is Okonkwo hurt?
I think he's thinking of Chig Okonkwo.
Chig.
Okonkwo.
Shit. All season, has he?
Yeah, for Tennessee.
Yeah.
That's probably why
he's been like he's their number one. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, he's the number one. And he's had some pretty good games in the past, but I'll watch out for him.
He is not on the injury report, so he's not. No, he's not.
I do like some indie people though. Yeah, Pittman, Downs, Pierce, Granson. I think they can all get it done tomorrow. That's why I kind of like Anthony Richardson tomorrow as a quarterback play. You can attack Tennessee through the air. I mean, Pittman's getting 20% of the targets. Granson is too.
Your boy got paid. And is eligible to come back tomorrow.
Who?
Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, Jonathan Taylor?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know about that. I wonder.
42 million,
3 years.
28 or 26 guaranteed. Right?
26 and a half, yeah. He's eligible to come off tomorrow. He could play tomorrow.
I'm very interested to see what happens with Richardson with a strong running back now.
Correct. That hurts both of them.
Jump back into like a pass, more just throwing the ball. And if so, then that really hurts him from a fantasy perspective because it's really about that run game.
I think so.
I think
I agree with Brad.
Like a Jalen Hurts type thing?
I'm telling you, Shane Steichen is I am a running quarterback coach. I am running the ball, and I don't give a shit if we paid you 3 years, 42 million, 26 and a half guaranteed.
Oh, it ain't gonna hurt. Richardson's gonna hurt Taylor.
I think Taylor is not going to be who Taylor was. Taylor going to be who DeAndre Swift is, if that makes any sense. I think we're going to have DeAndre Swift type and Jalen Hurts. We're going to have not so much that they have that negative correlation that we see all the time, but right now, I think Shane Steichen sees what Jalen Hurts and DeAndre Swift are doing in his old stomping grounds in Philly. And he's like, bruh, let me do that with Anthony Richardson. And somehow obviously they paid Taylor and that may have put his mind right. But somehow he got to him and was like, hey, man, I can make you a star and we have a running quarterback. And we're going to put the ball in y'all's hands, everybody else. That's it. And
So
I
if you
feel like
have Taylor, are you playing him tomorrow? Like, is it a must start for Taylor?
If it's
I
in
don't.
season long, I think so. If DFS, I'm not touching him. And now I'm not going to touch Anthony Richardson. I was looking at starting Anthony Richardson, now I'm not. Because we talk about all the time. Running quarterbacks destroy running backs because they can take the rushing touchdowns and the running yards away from a running back. And then on top of that, we know Zach Moss is a good pass catching back. So if Anthony Richardson takes the first down and second down run himself, then Zach Moss comes in, and now you're seeing even less of Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor's a pass catcher too, though. I think this is
not
worse
no
for Zach
Eckler,
Moss.
dog.
I think this is worse for Zach Moss than it is for anybody.
It is, but I can't. It's a negative correlation, man. Zach, Taylor's gonna come in and be a $7,000 running back. He's never gonna get you that value.
I mean, you if you're in season long tomorrow, you're more than likely have the handcuff. Hopefully, you have the handcuff Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor, and you're making that decision on your own tomorrow. But you drafted Jonathan Taylor with the hopes that he was going to come up. You've been having him stashed in your injured reserve spot until today. And you have him stashed, and you have to make that decision tomorrow. He's already projected 13.1 points in PPR, and Moss is like 7.7, okay? Now, for DFS purposes, if you have to go to a Colts running back, you're trying to save money play or something.
What is his value? What is he going, Phil? What's his amount for
Taylor? I didn't even know he was playing. Let me see.
Do they have anything for him?
He is 6,800 tomorrow. He's a fourth most costly running back tomorrow.
That's what I'm saying. He's always going to be high, man. That's based on not having Anthony Richardson on that team, man. He was getting the touchdowns. He was getting the bulk of the carries.
What's even worse is Moss is 5,800. That's like 1,000. You're only saving $1,000. I think maybe I'm just like as you're saying, Phil. I'm made both of them. I'm not even touching them.
I'm not touching either one tomorrow. You got to watch it. And now I'm not going to touch Richardson. I wanted some Richardson, but now I'm not going to touch him because what if Richardson still does the thing he does, but he doesn't get you them touchdowns because Jonathan Taylor's getting the goal line handoff. And Jonathan Taylor can get 2 touchdowns and still not be shit because he's got a total of 20 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and Anthony Richardson ain't shit because he's got a total of 30 rushing yards, 200 passing yards, and no touchdowns.
From a season long, you got to roll them out there. If it's showing even 13-1, I know that people are going to look at that number from a season long and go, I got to take a chance. But like from a daily fantasy, I would almost feel like you would want to kind of stay away from it. And just wait and see. If you see something this week, then of course that changes things for next week. But I would want to kind of wait and see how everything feeds out because we don't know how that makeup is going to work on who's going to get the touches.
I mean, we're going to see. We're definitely going to see tomorrow.
I like that wait and see call. All right, let's go into Giants and the Dolphins. It's a bigger over-under, one of the games I'm looking at for DFS purposes because of the over-under of 47.5. I
saw a meme where it was like they may put up 80 tomorrow, the Dolphins against them. So I'm sure that this sparked a lot of interest in this matchup, given the 70 they put up against the Dolphins.
Now they have Claypool too, so it's kind of like, are we going to see Claypool?
I don't think he's eligible to play tomorrow. I don't think he's eligible to play. I'm not 100% sure.
Good. I don't think he knows enough plays to be out there a lot. So
I don't think he's eligible because he was technically still eligible. He was still active Bears player on Thursday. So I don't know if he's actually eligible. When I looked at the depth chart earlier today, he didn't even have a number assigned yet. That was according to Our Lads, which is a pretty good updated depth chart. They update it pretty much every time something happens. I did not see them having him active. I imagine he's out there in street clothes tomorrow, But I would, if I was anybody, pay attention to our Facebook tomorrow morning. One of us will post if he is active or not. Because if he is,
nah, like I said, even if he's active, man, he's gonna be on a snap count. There's no way he knows a lot of plays. He probably knows 2 or 3 plays that he'll come in for, and if he's open, he's open. If not, I wouldn't.
He is not even in. He's not even the player pool tomorrow, so he ain't even going to play.
Again this week, just because if this game does get away, I foresee a lot of the players that are the 3rd and 4th getting more time, and so that lends to a player like a Braxton Berrios of getting additional targets and touches, because I think this game may kind of get away. And so again, that allows more chance for
Giants looked really bad, really bad. They can't even give Jones a second to throw the ball in that offensive line. That's creating a lot of turnovers.
High tomorrow.
Miami's going to eat, man, and it might be one of those games where Tyreek Hill pays off this $9,000 salary again, where he needs 36 and he gets you 50, and you're like, well, here we go.
I need that tomorrow. For the season long, definitely need that. After last week, it was an okay showing, but when you draft him number 1, you need buckets every week.
Yeah, you need them every week.
For a turnaround game.
Saquon is questionable with an ankle. Daniel Bellinger is questionable with a knee. Gary Brightwell is also questionable. So that's your 3rd running back. So you're looking at Matt Breida, possibly.
Again.
Yes, and that was dog poop.
I played and lost.
Wandale Robinson, who is probably number 2. He's number 2 on there. I've been trotting him out there in every one of these showdowns. I trotted him out there, and he's been good. He's just not. I feel like they take him off the field way too much. They take him off the field way too much. I feel like it's just
he doesn't get enough opportunities.
I think it's because Daniel Jones don't get enough opportunities to throw the ball. My man drops back, and there's everybody in his face already.
Bradley Chubb's going to be in his mouth tomorrow.
And that's going to give Miami the ball more and more and more. And it's like, there's definitely going to be lots of scoring. And who's it going to? That's the tough part, because Miami's starting to look like the Chiefs used to look, where there's so many people, so many targets, and they all are getting the ball. Yeah, it's so many people eating, and they all are eating. But, are they getting you the value you need from a daily fantasy point? On a season long, yeah, most likely. But daily fantasy, we're trying to come in first place. Like I said, you need Tyreek Hill to be getting you 5X on 9K. He's got to get you 45 points tomorrow. And if Mostert and A-Chain are fucking stealing 2 touchdowns each, how much is there to go around? And that takes me into A-Chain. Are we playing A-Chain tomorrow? I'm thinking maybe
he's number 1. I checked. You're talking about depth chart. We know depth chart matters, some or not. Yes, put him in season long fantasy, and that's just a start and leave his ass till you hear otherwise. That's
even if it works, if it doesn't work out, then okay. But you have to wait until it doesn't work out. You want to ride that train until it ends.
I'll put it this way. Last week, he rushed more than Mostert. So
he's number 1 in the depth chart, according to the depth chart I saw this morning.
In that starting role, maybe they like what they see from him.
But
they may also be kind of giving Mostert a tad bit of a break a little bit. That way, both running backs are kind of get you through the full season.
He is 6,100.
They may continue to kind of keep those.
They're both 160, 100, 6,200.
It's expensive for A-Chain now. That's an expensive backup running back.
Very expensive.
That might fuck with his ownership though, which could be a good thing. If he stays low owned because of that, then he's still a good play.
Your other thing that's gonna mess up ownership tomorrow, Salvon Ahmed is back.
I think he's irrelevant now, man.
Full practice.
I'll put it this way: A-Chain is 19% owned, and Mostert is 6% owned. I think that tells you right there.
Ahmed had a good game out of the backfield, though, didn't he? Catching the ball.
I think he had a couple good games last year.
I wonder if they consider him the better, the best receiving option they have if they want to do the screen game, etc., or just dump outside of the backfield. if he's kind of considered their number one when it comes to that.
Tough,
So
man.
that could affect somewhat. But it seems like when A-Chain gets the ball just pure running, he's taking it to the house off of just.
I mean,
outside
catch-
zone
yeah, this
plays.
is a track
catching.
team. This
And
is like Jamaica's track squad.
Yeah,
Okay, this
he
is
has-
like literally like so fast.
They have a shit ton of options. Nobody like Mostert can catch and run. A-Chain can catch and run. They both can run naturally, just run. And but now you're looking at ownership. If Mostert's gonna be 3 times less owned than A-Chain, then I think I have to play Mostert.
Mostert did not participate in practice on Friday though, but he's not
There you go.
questionable. Maybe he just took a rest day. Maybe so. That might be reason.
Watch that one.
Got to see what the coach. I don't think this coach is too strict on shit like that. At least he doesn't act like it. But some coaches, he ain't gonna play for missing practice.
Did y'all watch the video about him talking to Tua that I sent you?
Who, Mostert?
Mike McDaniels, the Dolphins coach. He's like talking to Tua about drip.
Nah, but I did see a post that said he needs to be mic'd up 100% of the time.
Yes,
I did see that. So
that's one of them. I think that's the one I sent you. Like they were talking, and that's what it said. Like they were talking, and he was like, "Yeah," he's like, "You got swag." He's like, "You got swag," and it was just like Tua, like, sure. And Mike McDaniels is like over there talking. He's like, "Hey guys, did y'all hear me talking about he's got swag on the sideline and shit?" Like this cool as shit. He's like his thing said talking about when they beat the Patriots, and he was like, "Oh man," he's like, I play with Legos, and I got a woman to marry me. Beating Bill Belichick ain't shit.
I mean, from an ownership perspective, man, back to it. Mostert and Waddle are coming in far low owned. Like, if you're trying to get different, and this is a game to attack, Waddle's only 5% owned, and Mostert was only 6% owned. A significant differences in ownership from players that have proven to get you a lock for at least 2 touchdowns or double-digit fantasy points and have the potential to break the slate, both of them. Now,
yeah,
like what's to say A-Chain don't go out there and hurt his ankle or get concussed and got to come out because he's the primary, and Mostert goes in resuming his normal role and destroys, and everybody's like, "What the fuck? I play A-Chain and Mostert pops off." Well, you should have played fucking Mostert because he was 3 times less owned than A-Chain.
100%.
I mean, Cody's saying he's number 1 right now, and he might be, but he's technically still in my mind the backup. I haven't heard any roster swaps where A-Chain is the new starting.
I don't think that this. I think this is which week, according to the depth chart, it's going to be fluid. I don't think that at this point it's just going to be that way. I think Mike McDaniel is going to put I'm just going to give you both, going to let you out there, both you get touches, and may the best man win kind of thing. So I think that, especially in season long, if you got them both, you're putting them both out there. You better not just lock them in and let them fail. And then in DFS, it's just a toss up. You gotta ride them as
it's a toss up in DFS. It's fucking get lucky and guess right, or good exposure to both.
Yeah.
Do multiple lineups. Make sure you have A-Chain in a couple. Make sure you have Mostert in a couple. And if somebody gets hurt or somebody underperforms, at least you got the other guy. You got a little bit of both. I think that's kind of how you have to attack this one. And same with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Tyreek Hill is extremely high owned, and he's extremely expensive. Jalen Waddle hasn't had that breakout game yet this year, so he's due. And he's far less owned and far less cheaper. Get you some Waddle in case Tyreek Hill doesn't perform and run it that way. I wouldn't put those people in the same lineups. But if you did with the running backs, I'd say you're being different. You're getting different. Our motto, get different. Who's playing A-Chain and Mostert in the same lineup on, a main slate? That's definitely getting different. And then I think I don't know. I haven't looked. I think Miami's defense is going to be really high on.
3,600. I mean, I imagine they will be just at the price point. I mean, their price
Third
points.
highest owned defense. I think you definitely have to get some exposure there too, because they naturally have a pretty solid defense, create turnovers, and then they're playing against like the worst offensive line I've ever seen in my life. Like they're playing against my high school football team. It's crazy. Just
offensive line without their starting center, out their starting tackle, out their starting right tackle, out their questionable left tackle, and questionable backup left tackle, and starting guard also is out. So this offensive line is a JV squad that they picked up off the road somewhere in New Jersey.
Yeah. With that said, that Miami's defense in there, get them running backs. That's another good thing.
I imagine that's probably going to be a cash. That's going to be probably a cash play defense tomorrow for sure.
One thing we haven't talked about much, or I haven't mentioned yet much in here, is that you should usually pair a running back with the defense that you pick in DFS, because they usually go hand in hand. If a defense is excelling, then they're running the clock. They're running the ball a lot, and the defense is excelling. So if Miami pulls a fat lead, they could just ground and pound with A-Chain and Mostert all game until the clock runs out. And you have now correlated a high-scoring defense with a high-volume output running back, and they kind of match very well together. Move on from that game. We good? Clear? Let's go into my Saints versus the Patriots. We both look fucking horrible this year. Not picking a single player from this game. I might play the defense on either side. I wouldn't mind that. Saints defense or Patriots defense. Other than that, I don't want no Kamara. It's too expensive. Patriots are pretty solid against the run. Mac Jones is fucking terrible, so the Saints, look good in that.
They pulled him last week for Bailey Zappi, so this could get out of hand, come unraveling quickly.
Backup QB coming in again, maybe, or starting. Who knows?
Our flag football boys' days might be over with, Phil.
Might be done with. Other than that, man, I don't want no Olave. I think the numbers for the Patriots are pretty good. I have to find them. Yeah, right here.
There's going to be some sort of production. So I would say Ramondre Stevenson from the Patriots. He seems to always still have fairly solid games because he gets a lot of those catches out of the backfield, the little dump off passes.
He was pay attention to that tomorrow.
Saints are known for a run
limited in practice.
Saints are known for a run defense.
Ramondre was.
He's questionable, yes, with a thigh.
Okay. Yep.
And England is rushing 18 yards below average than the other teams in the NFL. So they're not rushing very well. And then on top of that, New England's rush defense and pass defense are exceptionally higher than everybody else's, which kills the Saints players. So, and then we'll go and take a look at New Orleans.
What about Olave? So you don't like Olave tomorrow?
I don't like Olave because of one thing I just said. The Patriots are allowing 38 points fewer through the air than the other teams on average. So.
Gotcha.
They have a really good
Patriots just traded for J.C. Jackson.
New Orleans.
J.C. Jackson can work out the slot too. So,
we're probably we're about average on the defensive passing, like 11 yards below average on the rush, which, I mean, if you're going to attack us, it's going to be the rush, but usually the Saints have been pretty exceptional against the run. So it might be who we've played this year. I have to go back and look. Somebody might have gashed us, but for the most part, it's like I was telling somebody the other day, the over-under on this game should be 30 points, and it's 39. I think you go under on this game. And
Saints defense
or Patriots defense, get exposure to both. Let's see.
Derek Carr is questionable.
Yeah, Derek Carr is questionable.
Shoulder.
And
no Jawan Johnson tomorrow either.
Michael Thomas do anything? For anyone, Michael Thomas?
I just don't want nobody in these low scoring ass. I mean, if you got them in season long, Olave gets volume, Michael Thomas gets volume, maybe.
Yeah.
But Saints defense is coming in at 11% owned. The Patriots defense is coming in at 7% owned. So
No.
the Patriots are 3,100 and the Saints are 3,000. So right now you probably want Patriots, but that could change. But obviously people are seeing what I'm seeing. I'm actually looking at it, and the Saints are the number 2 highest owned defense tomorrow.
Yeah.
Patriots are the number 4.
That's what I was thinking the same. The Saints defense tomorrow seems like a really strong play. Whether it's Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi, they both seem to have a propensity for throwing the ball up. So you can see definitely some interceptions. They also hold the ball, so you can see some sacks there. Really like Saints defense there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be low.
They'll get all the calls tomorrow too. So
you're going to get all the calls.
Bill finds a way to scheme you up. So I mean, if you want to get different, as we say in the motto, you can't go wrong sometimes with Bill Belichick defense.
Correct. Other than that, Hunter Henry gets
that's it.
all the targets for New England, but if they're not going to be scoring, then there's not anything from a fantasy perspective to be excited about. And even if they are scoring,
a lot of questionables on that defense tomorrow.
Not a lot going on in that game.
Well, here you got a starter. They're starting defensive tackle, starting safety, starting defensive end. Both defensive tackles, 2 cornerbacks, a linebacker, all questionable tomorrow. So Jonathan Jones, Christian Gonzalez, Devin Godchow, Trey Flowers, Cody Davis, and Christian Barmore, all questionable on that Patriots defense tomorrow. So not that
maybe not
really affects a whole lot, but that's a whole starting defense there. So
a little banged up.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into the next one. The Ravens at the Steelers. Another very low total. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe there's some weather impacts. I don't know, but I kind of.
You think it's not putting the ball in the end zone?
I've never really said this, but I kind of like Gus Edwards tomorrow if he's going to be starting for the Ravens.
I did.
Steelers are atrocious against the run, dude. They're like one of the worst. They might be the worst. Now Denver's the worst, but I think they're second worst.
Well, the thing about it is we beat them with the run and the pass last week. So
that could be partly why too. And y'all don't even y'all had Dame Pierce putting the boot on them, man.
I mean, literally, Nico Collins had seven receptions for 168 and 2 touchdowns against them last week. So, I mean, I could see Zay Flowers if Lamar puts the ball down the field. Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews show tomorrow because Odell Beckham is questionable still with an ankle. Bateman is a full go tomorrow, I think it says, but they are questionable. Justice Hill is questionable, and Keaton Mitchell, another running back, is questionable tomorrow. I believe Ronnie Stanley might be coming back to tackle tomorrow.
Gus Edwards is only 0.8% owned. That's just screaming lock button to me if he's starting.
Yeah, for the Ravens, as Cody had already mentioned, I really like. Also really like Zay Flowers. He's in my stardom 3-pack this week. One of the players is Zay Flowers. I like the production. I know last week it was a little quiet, but I believe in the last 3 weeks prior to that, he's had 8+ targets each week. Again, with Odell Beckham Jr. out, that will lend to additional target share for him tomorrow. And I love his speed. He's the over-the-top play. And I really like those type of receivers from a fantasy perspective. The matchup is really prime against a defense that just gave up a bunch of yards last week to the Houston Texans. So I really feel that this week you can continue to see more of that. Sometimes it gets a little kind of rock'em sock'em with these divisional games with the Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers, where the games are a little bit low scoring, but I don't necessarily see that this game. I see a little bit more points being put up. So again, I like one of my stardom picks this week is Zay Flowers.
Yeah, I like that. I have him on my list as well.
It's 5,500 in DFS tomorrow, or in DraftKings tomorrow. So,
his ownership is low too, 6% on DraftKings.
He's got double-digit fantasy points in 3 or 4 games. I just continue to see that. I just can see that production continuing this week. They got to get the ball to somebody. I just don't. Also, from a running perspective as well, I kind of see it not being as successful from a running perspective for anyone on the Ravens side, which again leaves a little bit more chances for production from out of the receiving core.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those.
George Pickens tomorrow. George Pickens. Is there any love for George Pickens tomorrow?
No. Their last 3 games were a total of 29 points and 30 points. Literally, 29 points, 30 points, 29 points. All low-scoring games. Not much fantasy production probably out of that. I can look at the box score and see it looks like it's a field goal fest for all those points. Literally. It's exactly what it is. So, but with that said, last year it was Najee Harris running for the Steelers. He did have 22 attempts for 111 yards. So,
good thought for tomorrow. This could be a sneaky play. Like, we saw what Zach Moss did to that Baltimore defense. Zach Moss, that was Zach Moss's coming out party. 30 attempts for 122 yards, 2 receptions for 23 yards and a TD. Jaylen Warren tomorrow? Not Najee. Jaylen Warren, the number 2. That got that number 2 for Pittsburgh. He's like what's his ownership, Phil? I know he's only like 40.
I can tell you their last time they played, he rushed 12 times. He rushed 12 times for 76 yards. And
he had 11.5 fantasy points against us last week on 8 attempts for 29 yards, 6 receptions for 26 yards. So I see that Kenny Pickett likes to dump him off the ball, and he runs the ball too. He's a third down back, and I feel like he's on the field way more than Najee is at this point. And so I could see that could be the vulnerability of Baltimore's defense is running the ball, because we saw Zach Moss do it against them. And I was like looking to see.
Warren's had 5, 4, and 6. He's had at least, he's had multiple receptions each game in the last 4 games. And I would see them kind of getting down in this game, which will lend more to a Warren-style game than it would a Najee-style game where the game's a little bit closer.
Baltimore's rush defense is above average. And their passing defense is above average. Pittsburgh's is shit. Their defensive passing on average and rushing is horrible. And on top of that, what's correlated is that Baltimore is running offensively 24 more yards above average than the other teams in the NFL. I'm telling you, Gus Edwards at 0. whatever it was percent against this shitty rush defense with that type of output correlates. I might lock this dude into like 80% of my lineups.
Edwards?
If he shits the bed, then he shits the bed. But
is this the lock of the week you saying, Phil? Is this
no. I think my lock of the week, we haven't gotten there yet, but I can tell you.
Ooh, now we get into questions. Now it's live with a whole, we're at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock y'all's time. We getting questions. Let's jump on Josh's question real quick, because we just got off this Patriots game. We haven't made it a Rams yet. But, Josh, okay, PPR, and who is your quarterback?
I think it's an easy one regardless. We just talked
Higbee
about
or Henry.
Yeah. Well, Higbee. We just talked about this New England game is going to be shit. It's got an over-under of 38 points or some shit like that. I'll tell you right now, total over-under 39. You're playing against Saints defense, who's solid. Playing against Patriots defense, solid. There's going to be no scoring. It's going to be field goals and barely any yardage, no touchdowns. And then you're comparing a tight end in one of the highest over-unders on the slate of 50.5.
You gotta get me some Higbee tomorrow, because they gotta score points against Philly. They got to.
Higbee's been eating. He's gonna eat. First off, I think the Rams, where is it at? The Rams might be projected for the most air yards tomorrow of any team. Let me see. Miami is, but the Rams are second for projection of the most passing yards tomorrow. If Rams are going to be passing that much, it's Higbee all day. I do love Henry. I was just talking about him a minute ago. Henry's good. It's just not going to do it against the Saints. Higbee will get you them points. I think that's an easy one.
No, I was going to go Higbee too, but I mean, I like the Hunter Henry play. I think the volume is there for Hunter Henry.
A little devil's advocate. I actually like Hunter Henry tomorrow, even
Greetings from Mexico.
I actually like Henry, so I know that you guys feel Higbee a little bit more, but isn't Cooper Kupp coming back? So with Cooper Kupp and Puka plus Kyron.
And Tutu, though.
A little bit more.
I'm running Tutu out there tomorrow.
That makes it a little bit more of a crowded, sort of a lot more mouths to feed. Whereas
I don't think
Henry maybe is competing against Kendrick Bourne and
I think he's just competing against a defense.
Kayshon Boutte. And so from that perspective, they might be looking for more intermediary routes just against how tough that defense will be for them tomorrow. So I think, again, from that perspective, that they don't have really anyone else to go to. You got to go to someone. Henry might actually end up getting more targets. And greetings from Mexico, though. Wow.
Yeah, I like that. I got an answer for this one, too. I think it's A-Chain and Breece Hall. But that's kind of because we just talked about you're definitely talking about Bijan Robinson, I think, right? Because Brian Robinson played. So my guess is you're thinking about Bijan Robinson. We talked about that game.
I got the quarterback answer too. So,
but I like Breece Hall and A-Chain over Bijan. And then the second question is Burrow and CJ, or CJ and Dobbs. It's absolutely CJ and Dobbs.
Give me some Dobbs, baby.
Yeah, Dobbs tomorrow all day.
Tomorrow.
Burrow is playing injured. I think that what I got some research from earlier, Burrow is playing 100% of snaps out of the shotgun because of his ankle, and because of that,
drop back and run that play action.
And drop back. He can't. The plays are limited. They can't produce, and it's a problem. So definitely not no Burrow, and I think that makes it easy. If it's a CJ and Dobbs, my guess is you have two teams, or you're doing some type of
quarterback league.
Yeah,
two quarterback league.
Then it's CJ and Dobbs all day. I actually like Dobbs tomorrow, by the way. We haven't gotten to that game yet. But
there you go. Streamer of the week, baby.
Yeah, I like Dobbs. So haven't gotten there yet, though. I think we can go there, though. I think we're done with the Ravens and Steelers game. Unless you have something else to talk about in that game. I mean, like I said, I like Gus Edwards in there.
I'm just saying that the Steelers don't sleep on Jaylen Warren tomorrow. If you have him in season long, don't sleep on him, especially if you're needing streamer help for tomorrow. Jaylen Warren could be a play. Even in DFS, I think maybe he's low. He's like $4,300. So he's there. Phil's the guru, but I'm like reckless and abandoned. So that's my reckless and abandoned play is Jaylen Warren, because I seen what Mixon did, and I saw what Zach Moss did.
Yeah.
I like Jaylen Warren, but I won't play it. I think Baltimore.
Subscribe to us. Don't dip out. Subscribe to the channel. Don't dip out.
Like, subscribe. Join the Facebook. You know, we talk about this stuff. You can ask questions in there all the time. But yeah, definitely found us in Mexico. That's awesome. So join our Facebook group. Ask more questions. We'll answer them.
Thank you.
You know, exposures change overnight, and we update injuries and exposures and spots that we're sneaky going to.
Tell all your friends.
Rate my 20-man PPR team.
Jesus Christ, that's a lot of people in the league.
Yeah,
that is a lot of people in the league.
I guess that's Jonathan Taylor, right?
I would say that that's a fairly good, but I've never been a part of a 20-man PPR league, so
I don't think I've ever joined that. I don't think I've ever joined that, dude. You get the pick, and then you got to fucking wait 20 spots. Just sitting there all day, bored in the draft.
That's a fairly
unless y'all like best friends. Y'all like best friends, and y'all sit around and drink beer the whole time, and like just trade and do all that kind of stuff. I like your team. It's sneaky. My biggest ant on that team is Russell Wilson, but that's just me personally. But I don't think it's terrible, especially because you waited around with Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, he's been sitting in your injury reserve spot, like we talked about earlier. That Aaron Jones plays not terrible. Brad's number one overall pick was Tyreek Hill, so he's going to go there. Cole Kmet's been paying off for you.
I actually like Christian Kirk against the Bills tomorrow. Just from a target share and the fact that I believe that the Jags probably are going to be down, that's actually a really good play tomorrow against the Bills. Even though that Bills defense is tough, they do give up points.
Let's go into the Bengals-Arizona game. We kind of just touched on it. I'm going to have zero Burrow. First off, he's coming in at like one of the highest owned quarterbacks, but I think he's the second highest owned quarterback, and I think it's because people are expecting him to have some like breakout game because he hasn't had one yet, but I think that's just like hope and guess, and they're not paying more attention to the fact that like dude is playing injured. When he's healthy, he'll have his breakout game, but you can't just run every play from fucking shotgun and expect to confuse a defense. Like they're on to you. With that said, Higgins and Chase, they're all viable plays to an extent, because they're getting cheaper and cheaper each week to play, and their cost per dollar is getting better. But like Jamar Chase is coming in at the second highest owned wide receiver under Tyreek Hill, and he's still almost 8,000. He has not produced a game worth that value yet this year. I don't think he's going to this week neither. So he's a definite no-go. Tyler Boyd's probably a little more like it. He's a little more valuable to his cost. I don't even see Higgins unless I passed him up on this list.
No, he is still questionable. He is more than likely not going to play tomorrow. He's still technically questionable, but he's more along the lines of doubtful with a fractured rib, I believe, is what it is.
Yeah, I don't want no Higgins. That's why I think I like Tyler Boyd. I'm going to add him to my little list here, too. Somebody's got to get the ball.
Irv Smith is coming back tomorrow at tight end. I mean, that's not great game breaking, but
setting it up well for Mixon. Then I'm taking Mixon.
I don't like Mixon either.
Okay,
you might be right. It's probably setting it up for that Mixon type game, but I think people are thinking like you. Yeah,
is he going high?
Yeah, he's the third highest owned running back right now. So
yeah, that's what they're
saying. That's the only reason I'm not going to. But I think you're right. Like,
yeah, that's what they're saying too.
Setting it up for a mixing game, and it's possible. Like, it's fucking Mixon. He's a beast, and he's only 6,400. But he's just too high owned for a daily fantasy perspective. If you have him a season long, I think you're playing him. I mean,
you drafted him. He's a draft, and you have to play him. There's no ifs, ands, or buts tomorrow.
I'm not going to say I'm going to fade Mixon. I'm not going to say that. But if I'm doing like $100 or $50 single entry, he's not going to be in it. I'll tell you that. It's too high owned for me. I need to get different. Yeah, I can't fade that.
I have to trot Chase out there tomorrow in 12-man.
Yeah, you have to.
But you got to. I mean, analysts saying that he's possibly not a lineup lock anymore, but he's projected 21 points tomorrow. I got to take that projection with a grain of salt and hope to God that it comes through somewhere close to fruition tomorrow. I don't care.
What you think of Irv Smith? You think he's gonna? I mean, it looks like
with no Higgins, I don't know who is technically the third.
I have to see it first with Irv. He's got all the potential. He's got all the ability.
Trenton Irwin's that third one, but Irv Smith, I think Arizona's given up they're known for giving up points to the tight ends. So with that said, if he's coming back, he might be a play. But I don't think Cincinnati's not putting up points. Like, that's the problem. Like, are we putting up points or are we just throwing shit games? And I think right now they're throwing shit games. Plus, they're ranked 25th for one the pace of offense. So they're slow paced offense. They're not.
And it's not. I don't think it's because they're usually a slow paced offense. I think it has everything to do with that calf
injury. Yeah, I think that's why they're doing a slow paced offense. So they can slow the game down so he's not out there as much. So or he's not getting hit as much. They're probably running a lot, which, like you said, feeds up for Mixon. But if they're not scoring points, then neither is Mixon. He's just getting volume. But we both mean Cody.
Quite a few injuries on both sides, questionable. I believe the most important one is to pay attention to is T. Higgins. I mean, Orlando Brown, the tackle, was a full go, and then on Arizona, backup Keontae Ingram, running back, questionable tomorrow. But other than that, it's just actually Will Hernandez, the guard. But I'm streamer of the week, going out there on a limb.
Yeah, you got Aaron Dobbs. Do you
I'm running him out.
Wilson as well? The receiver, I believe he had 2 touchdowns yesterday.
Michael Wilson?
Is that a stack option? Then you're going to go ahead from a daily.
If you're running him out, you got to. He's looking for him.
Yeah.
Marquise Brown is the number 1, but yeah, Wilson is getting it for sure. 17% target share.
He's more of a bigger body receiver, more possession.
He reminds me.
Receiver.
What was the Michael Floyd? Do you remember Michael Floyd, Brad?
Yes,
remember Michael Floyd?
Yes.
This kid reminds me of Michael Floyd that played for Arizona.
For the Cardinals for a few more years.
He's 6'2". He's a great deal taller than Marquise Brown and Rondell Moore, but he's only 2 inches taller than the guy that's going to be covering him, Chidobe Awuzie.
He has a little bit of Anquan to his game, I would say. Anquan Bolden.
Awuzie did not practice on Friday with a back injury, so he's questionable tomorrow. And Cam Taylor-Britt, the other corner on the other side, was concussed and is questionable, has not fully come out of protocol yet. So
let's see Michael Wilson's ownership tomorrow.
It's going to be high. It's got to be
3.9%.
Jesus Christ, I felt like it was going to be higher than that.
So are they believing it's going to Marquise tomorrow then?
Yeah, 15.6% ownership on Marquise Brown as of right now. So,
but the thing about Dobbs, though, is that he doesn't truly have a strong arm. And so to really be effective with the Marquise Brown, he's more of a deep down the field player. That's why I was thinking more so Wilson.
Wilson's more. To be honest, Wilson has a 20.5 ADOT, which is average catch downfield, essentially. And Marquise Brown is only 10.3. So he's catching the ball double the length down the field than Marquise Brown right now. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe we're seeing like Dobbs just get his arm going, maybe, a little better. I don't know.
Because usually he's
around 205 passing yards. Probably a touchdown or 2 tomorrow. I'm banking on that. I'm running him. Like I said, I'm streaming him as a quarterback over Trevor Lawrence tomorrow in 12-man PPR. He's my streamer. My number 1 streamer. I can't push Trevor out there against that defense. I just feel like he's just rattled. I would rather take my lumps with a swing and a miss as opposed to sitting out there and just trying to take pitches and just watch them go by. Like I really feel like that's what I'm doing with Trevor Lawrence, because it's like you're sticking me out there to bat against Randy Johnson, and he's just throwing 100 mile an hour at me every time, and I'm just watching him and knowing that he's going to throw strikes and I'm swinging at him. So I'm gonna swing. I'm gonna swing for the fences with a Josh Dobbs, and I hope to God that I can get clear 20 fantasy points by a quarterback. I almost did it with Sam Howell on Thursday.
I like that pick.
I'm doing trapping the aerospace engineer out there tomorrow.
Get the job done.
Ex-Tennessee Vault.
All right, next game, Eagles at the Rams. Big total. This is what we're talking about with the Higbee play. Big over under a 50.5. Hurts is Hurts. We already know that. Gotta get some love to Hurts. He airs the fucking ball.
No Fletcher Cox tomorrow.
I actually this is gonna be my lock of the week.
Jalen Carter though.
Here's my lock of the week that we were talking about is in this game here. So it is. I'm going to push away from A.J. Brown and go to Devontae Smith in this game. I think this is his breakout game, man. I think see big points from him. Plus, the ownership is right with him, man. Everybody's on the A.J. Brown chain, and you can get my man Smith for 8% ownership. versus Brown, who's coming in at double 16% ownership. So, I think this is it. I think this is going to be a shootout game. The Rams, like I said earlier, were the number 2 highest projected passing yards on the slate. And if they're airing it out and keeping this game scoring, then I know that the Eagles are as well. And I just see this being Devontae Smith's game. This might be the game that I stack in single entry. I'm not sure. Definitely in the big, like, milli makers or, 20 max, 150 max tournaments, you're probably looking at Dobbs or, some quarterbacks like that. But I think in a single entry, you could run Hurts, stack them with Smith, stack them with Goddard, bring it back with somebody from the Rams. I don't know if in that stack you'd be able to bring it back with Cooper Kupp or not, but I was thinking double tight end to be different. Run it back with Higbee, so I have Goddard and Higbee in there. Puka, it scares me. This might be one of those wait and sees because I've seen Stafford literally just give the ball to Kupp over and over and over and over and over again, and he does not get the other people involved. So, except for the tight end. So he always gets Higbee involved with Kupp, but it's never like a Kupp and their wide receiver type game. It's just Kupp, and then the tight end. So for those purposes, I might stack this game. I still haven't figured it out yet. It's this game or the Miami game that I think I'm going to stack for single entry, but Smith is definitely my lock. I'm going to have him across the board. Let's hope he pops off.
I feel like
Kyron,
that
Kyron Williams again this week.
Who?
And
Williams?
I like Kyron Williams for
the Rams.
For the Rams tomorrow against that Philly defense. While they are really good up front, I believe that there should be room, especially with Puka and Kupp being able to kind of spread that defense out a little bit more. That's going to open up more gaps. And when that offense works at its best, it's with the play action game of McVay's offense. And so the only way to have that work effectively is the play action game. But going back to Phil's lock of the week, I've liked Devontae Smith virtually every week, just given his setup with the other weapons around him and that in that run game. In this game, even more specifically, I really like as well with Smith against this matchup. So a really good pick for the lock of the week.
Yeah, I agree. I like the Kyron call. Dump like if play action and they don't catch the open target to Kupp or somebody, just dump it right off to Kyron. I see that happening a lot. He gets his pass catching volume and then he's just an animal. So
how much is Puka going for, Phil? How much is Puka? Is he still going kind of high even though Cooper's coming back, or did he take a hit?
He's high. He's 7,700. That's high. Okay, I'm not. You can't touch him.
Get the ball. Okay.
Yeah, I can't touch him for that price.
Yeah.
And Cooper Kupp's coming back at 86. It's insane for somebody that hasn't played yet this season.
I'm telling you. You want to get different with the Rams wide receiver tomorrow. I think you got to go Tutu Atwell or Higbee. I mean, obviously
Higbee. That's why I like Higbee.
Tutu Atwell because I'm thinking about to the time when Cooper Kupp was on the field before Robert Woods popped his ACL. Okay. That spot that's occupied where Robert Woods used to be, that is where Tutu Atwell lines up. Okay? Mm-hmm. You have this is the 12-man personnel we always talk about, or even like the you're gonna have two wide out on one side and a tight end and a wide receiver on the other side. So that Cooper Kupp's gonna be lined up on the same side as depending on where they decide to move him as Tutu Atwell. And Tutu, they got to take it away. And they're going to go to Puka and Cooper Kupp because like you just said, Phil, Stafford keys in on Cooper Kupp the whole time. And Tutu Atwell's only 5,300 tomorrow. I mean, I don't think he disappears. I don't think he dries up in
defense. They could lock Kupp down and then Atwell eats. Like you're saying.
I don't think Tutu Atwell dries up and blows away tomorrow because of his skill set is different. He's the speed guy on that team. He's got the speed and he's got the spots where they can run that stinking ass jet sweep or that end around off of the tight end side with the wide receiver that they used to run with Robert Woods all the time. Sean McVay sees that. He's got his boy Cooper Kupp back in the fold. He's got Puka Nacua going, and everybody's going psycho about them two. And then you got Tyler Higbee. They're worried about him. And then Brad's Kyron Williams running up the middle. Who'd you add? What's there? Like, who else going to guard?
It's interesting. Who would have thought about that from the Rams? The Rams are looking shockingly kind of dangerous moving in through this year, whereas when at the beginning of the year, we kind of thought they were going to just tank, maybe even look to move past Stafford. But now, I mean, you're really talking about a lot of options for Matt Stafford that are really viable. This is going to be a really good game. Just from a fan's perspective, tomorrow, if we want to check out a really good game, this is going to be that game.
What was Kupp's injury?
Popped the
hamstring, right?
Yeah.
That's the only thing about Kupp. But I know if you picked him in the season long, you got to roll him out. So
you're definitely rolling him out.
He was gone in the top three. He was gone in the top three.
Option but to roll
him out. If you have him, he's got hamstring.
I never liked the hamstring. I never liked the hamstring with a receiver. Never.
Even with a running back, dude, I don't like him. That's why I said I don't mind a concussion. Motherfuckers ain't really injured coming off a concussion, but they're really injured coming off of them muscle injuries. Them things
the soft
hurt.
Tissue, man. The soft tissue. All it takes is one move, but you got to see it tomorrow.
Let's go into the Jets. Oh, you still want to say something on that, Cody?
I was just thinking that it's in L.A.
Yeah, it is.
They play on turf, right? They play on turf, right there.
It's a dome.
I'm just thinking of turf. It's turf in LA, right?
It's always turf in a dome, isn't it?
No. Arizona plays on grass. They're inside.
They play on
grass. Yes,
but
we
that's
play on
because
grass.
the grass moves outside. It's a retractable.
Oh, it's a retractable dome. That's why.
Outside, the field moves. The dome stays in place, and the field
moves.
Yeah, so they can slide the field outside, like it goes outside.
That's fire. All right, let's go to the Jets Broncos. Sneaky love here. It's only over under a 43.5, but we just saw the Broncos get absolutely gashed by everybody they fucking play this year, especially Miami. With that said, who loves Breece Hall? I think I do, but it's hard. What's Dalvin Cook's role in this offense? Is he playing? Is he injured?
I don't see any role. As a person who's had Dalvin Cook in my, I believe that's my 12-man league, and I drafted him with the hopes that even though he was in a crowded backfield, he's going to kind of be the Dalvin Cook of old, but it's just not been there. He's losing and ceding a lot of touches, or even just plays at all, to even Michael Carter, in addition to Breece Hall. So if you have him in your fantasy league, I would say go elsewhere. If you have even him in comparison to maybe a Warren for the Pittsburgh Steelers, roll out Warren, because I just do not have any faith, having played him previously in my league game.
What I'm seeing is an even split between him and Breece Hall, just about, not completely. But Dalvin Cook is coming in at 0.2% ownership, and Hall is coming in at 10% ownership. So everybody's loving Hall. I'm trying to figure out why there's no love for Cook. And I mean, you're saying it, he's just not performing.
The production hasn't been there fantasy-wise. I think he's had a okay amount of touches.
He gets his ass stuffed every time he runs the ball.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it's just been no type of actual yards per carry though.
But could that change against the team, right? We saw the backup A-Chain destroy them. We saw the starter Mostert destroy them. We even saw, didn't they bring in like a third running back from Miami that was also cooking them at the end of the game? Like, there's just everybody's cooking them.
The receivers, actually not even technically receiving, but the passing play. I actually like a sneaky pick in Conklin, the tight end. For the Jets, because I think they're going to attempt to try to take Wilson away tomorrow, Garrett Wilson, which would then open up more opportunities.
We saw them try that with Tyreek, though, right? Wasn't Pat Surtain supposed to take Tyreek Hill out? And it was like, what is Pat Surtain even doing? Like, he was like lost. It's crazy. So I agree. Is Pat Surtain going to lock down Wilson? If not, I mean, even if he does or doesn't, I do like Conklin regardless, but I still like Garrett Wilson because Pat Surtain is not the Pat Surtain we've seen. Like, something's going on. He was probably partying too much in the offseason.
I think it's the scheme. Some cornerbacks are more effective in certain schemes. I think for him, it's more driven by the scheme. And so I'm not necessarily sure if it's a zone or a man concept issue, but it just doesn't seem like he's playing the same type of style that he was playing the previous years under like Vic Fangio. I think that he's just not being used properly, which is hurting him. But it happens.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Vance Joseph is the defensive coordinator there in DC now. So in Denver now. So back.
I think he does like a Tampa 2 style or maybe a zone style.
Tampa 2 is like we've seen what that does. Nothing.
Like, I don't like anybody on Denver.
More of a man.
Really? Style. With no DJ Reed tomorrow and no Brandon Eccles, so it's Sauce Gardner out there by himself tomorrow.
But Sutton and Judy have not put up anywhere near their
price. I guess.
So they still got Jerry Judy at 6,100 and Sutton at 6,900. Them players need to be 5,500.
Vontae Williams is questionable tomorrow. He did practice yesterday.
Yeah,
he could be there.
What does he have?
Quad. It's a quad.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know his injury, but I did see he's questionable. I could see you doing a game stack in this game, but I think your game stack begins with Zach Wilson, goes to Conklin and maybe Garrett Wilson, and then you bring it back with a Judy or Sutton, not both, one or the other, and you just hope, like what you're saying, those injuries.
What about Marvin Mims?
Even Marvin Mims is getting creative, but I don't think you need to. He's 4,000. We've listed earlier at least 5 players that were cheaper than that are much better game modes and are seeing a much bigger production. Marvin Mims only had 7% target share last week, and he's 9% on the season. He's only out there for 30.
I'm just saying, he's doing the most with his targets. He's had 2 targets. He had 2 targets last week. He had 5 the week prior, which was 3 receptions for 73 yards. And then in week 2, he had 2 receptions for 113 yards on 2 targets. So, but that was against Washington, and the week 3 was against Miami when they were getting their ass blowed out. Last week was in Chicago when they actually made the game close. And
I'm not going to say you can't go there. I'm just not going there. I think we definitely named some better ones earlier on that Terrence Marshall or Mingo. Those types are way better in my opinion. I didn't know the significant injuries to the Jets defense, but Russell Wilson, he did have that 300-yard game against Miami, and he still somehow had only 20 fantasy points. I don't get it. If that was Kelsey, if that was Mahomes that had 300 passing yards, he probably would have had a 35 fantasy point game. That's why I'm not going Russell Wilson. And like I said, Judy and Sutton should be 1,000 less than they are for the amount of fantasy points they've been getting. And because of their price is the reason I'm not going there. Adam Trotman, I tried to play him sneaky deaky last week, 0 points. I told myself I'll never play a guy again.
I just don't think Sean Payton's clicking with him right now. I don't know.
I don't know why. Sean Payton is who built fucking Jimmy Graham. So
that's what I'm saying. I don't. And Trotman was on the Saints. Trotman was in that offense. So I'm I don't understand.
I don't either. So he got me a 0 last week. I'll never play him again. I don't care if he drops 40 points tomorrow. I'll never play him again. He's dog shit. Not happening. Jets, obviously Lazard, Garrett Wilson, Conklin that Brad was talking about. Conklin's, easily the number 2 target on that team. And Garrett Wilson seems to be the by far number 1 target on that team at 35% target share last week, 32% target share on the season. And the next closest to him is Tyler Conklin with 15%. So everybody else, even Lazard is only 7% last week, 14% on the season. It's now down to that Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook situation where they're splitting the fucking ball. 37% Breece Hall, 31% Dalvin Cook. It sucks because it's such a good game to have a running back in, because we saw what Miami did to him with anybody that touched the fucking ball. So
it's an afternoon game too. It's afternoon in Denver.
I think get sneaky and play Dalvin Cook. To be honest, I think that's where I go.
High altitude.
If I'm playing an afternoon-only slate in DFS, I think I'm rostering Dalvin Cook over Breece Hall, simply because of ownership, not because I think he's better. Obviously, he's not, and production has not been better, but ownership, and they're splitting the ball evenly, 37 and 31. Like, what's that? One more handoff than the other guy. So I'll take my chances, Dalvin Cook, in that situation, in that matchup, especially if I'm trying to get different on an afternoon slate.
We got a question here that probably takes us directly to our next game.
Yeah, Addison or Kirk. We already know where Brad's going with this.
We know where Brad's going here.
I'm going exactly where Brad's going.
Well, definitely, because that's in the Kill 3-pack. I'm going to go with Jordan Addison this week. I know last week he had a 0, so I know a lot of people are going, why would you say this week? But a lot of times the coaching staff recognizes that and knows that they want to get that guy involved the next week coming in. Also, just from a pure point standpoint, he's had three great matchups where the target share was, I believe, over 5 or 6 targets per each week. He's had 3 games prior to that of double-digit fantasy points. And so he's shown that he's getting the target share previously. I'm not necessarily sure what happens, but those games do happen where you just get schemed out of the game. But I just see Minnesota turning it around this week and being able to get him more involved. Also, that Kansas City matchup, it offers up some for him too. So the opportunities for moving the ball should be there, and opportunities for big plays outside of Justin Jefferson should be there.
I agree. So again,
in that 3-pack for the week,
you have Addison in there.
Let's go ahead and run with Addison. Again, he's going to be a strong play tomorrow. Expect a turnaround from the previous week.
Yeah, I think if the Chiefs have to lock anybody down, it's Jefferson. And if they are successful at that, or their plan is to do that, which their plan should be to do that, then that opens Addison up as the next big playmaker. And he is a big playmaker. And you need big playmakers against a team like Kansas City. This game is also the highest over-under on the slate, 52.5. So you got to expect a lot of scoring.
We saw what Zach Wilson did against that Kansas City defense. Obviously, he turned it around
for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And to make COD great again, I also do like Kirk. So it is a little bit of a toss-up for me from that standpoint, because as I stated earlier, I think that Bills matchup with the position that Kirk plays in the slot should lend to additional target share for him tomorrow. So technically, to answer your question, you can't go wrong with either one. But I just like Addison a little bit more, given the fact that the defense that he's going up against is a little bit more susceptible to deeper plays than I would say that Bills defense is. But I do see Kirk getting still a healthy share of targets, which again could translate to a really good game. But I like Addison a tad bit more.
Yeah. Me too.
I agree with that. I just don't like Jags players that much right now until fucking Trevor Lawrence can get good, because I think he sucks. So Trevor Lawrence sucks, therefore all his pass catchers suck. He sucks. Jags suck. They need to get better. Addison is on a team that airs the fucking ball out like 70% of the time.
Kirk Cousins likes to throw interceptions. He threw interceptions last week. That's the reason. No, I'm just saying there's where your problem went wrong with why Addison didn't show up last week, and or TJ Hawkinson. I mean, I think Jetta only had like 4 receptions last week, or 2 receptions, something like that crazy. But
that's because he airs it.
Yes.
He airs it. Minnesota airs the fucking ball out. Like, I think more than any team in the NFL. Like, it's like 70-75% of the time they're throwing the ball.
Well, this is probably the Tony Romo and Jim Nantz game tomorrow. Probably, I feel like they're probably having this.
This is gonna be pass heavy. So
from the Kansas City side, I'm all in. I guess you could say in my 10-man league, I'm going Pat Mahomes and actually Isaiah Pacheco tomorrow in my 10-man league. and just going all in sort of on that offensive side. I like that against that Minnesota defense. That's
Quite a
definitely
few
been
questionables
susceptible
on that defense tomorrow.
I kind of like McKinnon in this game too. Low owned. He's the pass catching back.
Yeah.
If Minnesota is not assumed in my book to be behind. I mean, they probably will be, but Minnesota airs the fucking ball out. They're gonna score. Kansas City's gonna score. If Kansas City's behind at any point, that opens McKinnon up for being the pass catching back in there more often and getting the job done. Now, if Kansas City's dominating and they're for any reason trying to crush clog, then Pacheco's going to be in there. But McKinnon seems to, especially on I call them showdowns, but like afternoon slates, it's not a full main slate. You see the backups excel more in those 3-4 game afternoon only slates, and I like to think of that when I prepare my main slate because I can try to get the difference in those games, put them in my main slate, and if it works out, now I'm different, number one, and I killed it and I successfully made it. So Jarrett McKinnon, definitely viable option for me. Kadarius Toney, no shot.
I'm liking a get different pick. A get different pick is actually I like Alexander Madison tomorrow. Sometimes Madison's a little bothersome because he keeps fumbling the ball a little bit. But if you look at the production from the fantasy perspective has continued to go up. I believe he had his best game from a fantasy perspective last week, if I'm not mistaken, and I like just that defense. I could see him getting a lot of catches out of the backfield again this week against that Kansas City defense. So sort of a get different pick. He probably may not be chosen a lot as far as for those top running backs. So if you want to get a little different, I would say go Madison here against that defense because I don't think
you don't feel any negative correlation with Cam Akers with he had 5 attempts for 40 yards last week.
I don't think too much. I think they're still working Cam Akers back into the offense.
I don't see it.
2 receptions.
I just don't see him doing
2 receptions for 11 yards.
I see like a 90% rush with Madison and a 12% with Cam Akers. So I don't think that's.
I think there's going to be a little bit of time in between.
I got a streamer in this game for if you're in a deep season long league, somebody that you could pick up on waivers that I could see could be a streamer, Rashee Rice. I've been riding the Rashee Rice train from the beginning of the season. Last week he came in with a pretty decent amount of work. I mean, I feel like Patrick Mahomes was looking for him, and he was showing that he is, I think, above average. I mean, he had 3 catches on 5 targets for 32 yards, and so I think that they get down in the end zone and they've got to put up points, and they're trying to take away the Travis Kelce connection, and if we're not running the ball, I mean, I feel like Rashee Rice seems to be sitting there running those routes on top of Kelce, or running a lot of the outside game too. So I think Rashee Rice, especially if you have a deep land like my man here in this 20-man PPR, if Rashee Rice is out there on the waiver wire right now, you're going out there and need to grab it because I feel like his production is only going to get better throughout the season. Tomorrow in a afternoon only, if you're trying to get different with a Chiefs pass catcher, I mean, he's only like 3,600 in DFS and DraftKings, and I'm sure his ownership is not super high, especially for main slate.
I can check. 7%, 8%. That's not super high.
I mean, that's probably more than I expected it to be. So,
I mean, the top is 23%. So he's down there. He's down here. He's on the front page, but he's down there. He's got about 20 people in front of him.
As people seeing what we're seeing, what we're seeing in his volume uptick and him getting the ball more than what he.
Yeah, I mean, Travis Kelce's on 20%. So if you want to get different in that game, Rashee Rice all day.
Yes.
Even if he's 8% owned, Travis Kelce's 20% owned. And he is also 7,600 versus Rashee Rice's price. So You're paying a lot for somebody that's high owned, or you're paying a low amount for somebody that's low owned.
So yeah, that's your afternoon window. I mean, that's going to be the game everybody's going to be focused on, I think, in the afternoon window for sure. I think that's
the highest over-under on the entire slate. I mean, you can't ignore it. Like I said, Minnesota airs the ball out like 76% of the time. It's fucking insane.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Mahomes will follow you if you keep doing that. So they just have two motherfuckers beaming the ball the whole time. So that amounts for a lot of scoring and a lot of fantasy value.
I mean, I know we've seen. This is just a dumb thought, right? We know we've seen. Was the defense better than what we thought? Jets defense better against Mahomes than what we thought last week, or is Mahomes? Is the problem is Mahomes throwing picks, or was the defense forcing them? What do you think? Because what I'm saying here is Mahomes susceptible to interceptions? Because we've seen that now twice for sure against Detroit in week 1 and last week against the Jets. So is it because the defenses are that much better, or is it because Mahomes has got like a tell now, or he's just making more reckless decisions than normal?
I think a lot goes into it, man. I think it's also like sometimes you'll just watch like a team that's supposed to blow out another team and they end up losing. I think it's just like some teams have players' numbers, or they can just play really good against that type of offense, or that type of passer, or that type of wide receiver. I think all of that amounts into it.
He's averaging 1 interception per game this season so far. So
I think the Jets play them good every time they play them. So it might be more of we can just play against these guys. Like, we don't let them run all over us, pass all over us like most would think. And it might have just been also a Pat Mahomes bad day, but I don't think you can ever discredit Pat Mahomes about who he's playing against. I don't think, for one, Minnesota is that team that can do that. But going back to what I just said, some teams can just play against other teams defensively better than they play against anybody else the rest of the season, and you'll be like, that shit don't make no sense. It don't.
Yeah.
But they match good. They match good against those wide receivers. They match good against those linemen. It just happens.
Yeah, I think it's just just like you were saying. It's more along the lines of being a matchup issue, and we have to also take into consideration that for many years Pat Mahomes had Eric Bieniemy, and I know that Andy Reid is calling the plays, but there's still that that week to week and sort of the that build up each week.
Matt Nagy ain't it, bro.
It's going to look, and so when you have that change, it's still going to be that learning curve. Everyone's kind of working through what Pat Mahomes likes, what he doesn't like. I just think that this matchup, given the fact that Minnesota defense is really susceptible to giving up points, I don't know if you would see him have a sort of more average game. This is looking more like an above average style game where he'll really get a chance to air it out, especially with the way his skill set of receivers. They're more of the faster, shiftier, kind of down the field types. This lends well with this type of matchup. And so I definitely see sort of, again, above average. And you're going to continue to see sort of Pat Mahomes kind of the team work through this as they work through this beginning part of the year. But I think as the year goes on, they'll find a better sort of scheme that's going to work more effectively each week.
Correct. I think that's it on all the games. If y'all got questions, post them in here. Post them in the Facebook group.
Popping in and out.
We got
I know it's not on the main slate DFS wise. You have let you get your thoughts in for sure on. I know you said that you think that the Buffalo's defense is a little susceptible to Jacksonville tomorrow. Do you actually see a win, or do you think that it's a God-given conclusion that Buffalo wins?
I can't I can't just go extremely biased with, the Jaguars are going to pull it out. I just don't see it this week. I know that Tre'Davious White is out, but I just think that our offensive line hasn't got it fully figured out just yet. We may have Cam Robinson back, but because of the fact that offensive line has been shaky at points, it's going to force Trevor Lawrence to kind of run around a little bit. And I just don't think that they've sort of found that exact formula for what unlocks sort of a great play out of Trevor Lawrence. And in order to beat the Buffalo Bills, we need Trevor Lawrence to be 350 tomorrow and 3 touchdowns, or else we don't really have a chance. I just don't think he can necessarily do that tomorrow. In the past, there has been some sneaky games with the Bills. We won a playoff game a few years back, and also a regular season game, I think 6-9. So technically, from a matchup standpoint, we have been able to give Josh Allen a tough time. I just don't see it tomorrow, though. I kind of see that Bills offense clicking on a little bit all cylinders mode, as they've been doing the previous weeks. Maybe going across the pond gives us a little bit of an advantage early on, but I think as the game wears on, unfortunately, maybe a 27-17 style game, Bills in favor over my Duval Jaguars. But again, I just don't think that we're going to have enough of a scheme, be able to build together to put up enough.
Josh Allen Bowl tomorrow. The Josh Allen Bowl. That's what we got tomorrow. The Josh Allen Bowl on.
Yeah,
Josh Allen
again, I know the last time Josh Allen had like 3 sacks the last time he played the other Josh Allen, but I don't even know if that's going to be enough to win tomorrow, even if we do get that style performance. But again, I'll be rooting heavy, be up early. I love early morning football, so I'll definitely be up early.
It's just on the NFL Network tomorrow. We don't got to fight for it, so.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, fellas. Questions, comments?
Jay, we see your thought. We see your thought about Higbee. Yes, we were riding the Higbee train tomorrow. See, we got some people in the chat. Like you got chat for us.
Follow, subscribe.
Put them in, man. Like we want to help you out. Our thoughts or any kind of thoughts. Don't have to be a question.
Mexico.
You got a thought? Put a thought in there.
Questions, thoughts, predictions, or if you don't want to talk in here, the Facebook group. I think Cody pins it at the top of the chat.
You want to tell us that we're dog shit? Tell us that we're dog shit. Tell us what we need to improve. Tell us what we need to do to make it better for you. So,
however you feel, we just want to know.
I mean, I'm digging it. We got Adrian from Mexico earlier. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did all the way from Mexico.
That's awesome. I love that.
Join the Facebook group, follow, subscribe, dope. Stay in tune with these. We do these every Wednesday for the
Dallas gets killed tomorrow by the 49ers, Jay. Dallas gets killed by the 49ers tomorrow. Y'all go to sleep. They put y'all to sleep.
It's definitely going to happen.
We need to sleep.
And I'm having 2 max players from 7 plus K in my lineups. I agree, man. I think tomorrow you can have a lot of cheapies in there and get unique and crush it for DFS purposes.
Well, you're no Josh Allen in cash lineups tomorrow. Thank God. You can get a look. We can see a new cash is king tomorrow. Maybe. So
I think I have my Devontae Smith and my Gus Edwards that are probably going to be in so many of my lineups. It's unreal. My 0.9% on Gus Edwards.
Well, just real quickly, also that we didn't discuss in this episode just yet, but also like Jordan Love tomorrow. Jordan Love versus
for Monday
for the Monday. I like Jordan Love versus the Las Vegas defense. He's been stacking up points. I believe 2 games with 3+ touchdowns. If you got a quarterback and want to get a little different tomorrow, he's also in my Kill 3-pack stardom. Go with Jordan Love again against that LV defense. With their quarterback on the other side being hurt or shaky at best, coming off a concussion, I could see again them getting even more opportunities with the ball on the Green Bay side. And I really like their receiving core against the LV defensive backfield for the Vegas.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, like I said, guys,
right.
hit us up. We're here. We're ready. We'll be up in the morning.
Posting some updates and some shit like that.
You missed it, Jay. Where you been, man? We were all on that Arizona game. Josh Dobbs for the win tomorrow, baby. Like, that's
all over Arizona.
Michael Wilson.
Yes.
Michael Wilson, Hollywood Brown, James Conner. Some good pieces to get from that game. I wouldn't go too hard on that game. The over/under is not that great.
Just a quick thought. Like, who's the highest owned player tomorrow? Just for I want it for my thoughts because I would know Josh Allen.
Highest owned player tomorrow is Tyreek Hill.
Okay,
that makes sense.
Cash is king there, kids. There's you go. There you go. There's you got to get in. Cash is king right there. So.
All right, y'all.
All right, everybody.
Peace.
We do
lineups. If you need help, questions, holler in the Facebook group.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Ballers and briefs. Peace.